October 1st, 2017. Las Vegas, Nevada. Imagine the scene. Over 22,000 fans are packed together. The music is pulsing, and the lights are flashing. It's the last night of the Route 91 Harvest Country Music Festival. But in just a few moments, this incredible celebration is going to turn into the deadliest mass shooting by a single person in modern American history. From a hotel window, 32 floors up, a gunman would fire over 1,000 rounds into the crowd below. For 10 solid minutes, terror just rained down. But in the middle of all that chaos, something incredible started to happen. This isn't just a story about a tragedy. It's the story of how ordinary people became heroes. The energy in the air was electric. Jason Aldean was up on stage, and the crowd was just this sea of smiling faces, all singing along under the desert sky. They were friends, parents, brothers, and sisters, all there for a weekend of fun and music. Many, like Sonny Melton, a 29-year-old nurse from Tennessee who was there with his wife Heather, had traveled from all over the country. Or Jonathan Smith, a 30-year-old dad of 3, celebrating his brother's birthday with 9 of his family members. They were all strangers to each other, but for that moment, they were part of one big, joyful community. Then, a sound. A sharp, popping noise. A lot of people thought it was just fireworks, part of the show. Rob Ledbetter, an Army veteran who had served in Iraq, was one of them. But when the second burst of sound came, his training kicked in. He knew that wasn't fireworks. It was automatic gunfire. Panic just exploded. The shots were echoing everywhere, making it impossible to know where the danger was coming from. That huge, open concert field suddenly felt like a trap. One survivor, William Henning, later called it a human stampede. People were bleeding, screaming, and running in every direction they could, desperate for cover that just wasn't there. It was pure chaos. In those first terrifying moments, as 22,000 people scrambled for their lives, there was only one rule: survive. As bullets hailed down, the best of humanity started to shine through the darkness. Total strangers shielded other strangers. People who were dancing together just moments before were now using their own bodies to protect each other. Sonny Melton, the nurse from Tennessee, grabbed his wife Heather and started running. As he shielded her from the bullets, he was shot in the back. He saved her life, but he lost his own. His sacrifice was a story that was repeated all over that field, a heartbreaking display of love and courage in the face of absolute terror. Jonathan Smith, the father celebrating his brother's birthday, immediately thought of his family. He got his 9 relatives together, telling them to hold hands and just run. But in the chaos, he lost sight of his young nieces. Without a second thought, he turned around and ran right back into the line of fire. He didn't find his nieces right away, but he found other people. People who were frozen in fear, totally exposed, with nowhere to hide. He started grabbing them, yelling, "Active shooter, get down," and leading them toward a row of cars for cover. He's credited with saving around 30 people that night. As he stood up to tell a group of young girls to get lower, a bullet hit him in the neck. Lying on the ground, bleeding, he thought it was over. But an off-duty San Diego police officer named Tom McGraw found him, pressed his fingers into the wound to stop the bleeding, and stayed right by his side until he was rushed to a hospital. Jonathan Smith survived. To this day, he insists he's not a hero. He says he just did what he would want someone to do for him. This instinct to help was everywhere. Rob Ledbetter, the Army vet, found some cover and immediately started treating the wounded. He saw a teenage girl with a bad facial wound and, using a flannel shirt someone ripped off their own back, made a tourniquet to save her. People used belts, bandanas, anything they could find, turning the concert grounds into a makeshift trauma center. While civilians were becoming medics on the ground, first responders were racing toward the danger they knew was waiting for them. The scene they found was a nightmare. The on-site medical tent, staffed by community ambulance, was overwhelmed in an instant. As victims were carried in one after another, the tent's power suddenly went out, plunging everyone into darkness. Medics had to work by the light of their cell phones, trying to triage dozens of critical patients while bullets were still hitting the ground just feet away. Fearing there might be a shooter on the ground, armed officers formed a perimeter to protect the tent, allowing the medics to keep doing their life-saving work. They simply refused to abandon their patients. Police officers on the scene had an impossible job. The echoing gunfire from the Mandalay Bay Hotel made it sound like there were multiple shooters in different places. One officer later said, "I was terrified. I questioned God. Why? Why am I going to die today?" And yet, they pushed forward. They formed strike teams to go into the venue and find the source of the attack. They directed the fleeing crowds and even turned their own patrol cars into makeshift ambulances to get the wounded to hospitals. Off-duty police, firefighters, and medics who were just there for the concert instantly switched into work mode, treating the injured and organizing rescues. Robert Hayes, an off-duty firefighter from LA, just went from person to person, helping anyone he could. He later said, "If that was someone in my family, that's what I would have wanted somebody to do for me." The roads became lifelines. Everyday people with pickup trucks started loading the wounded into their truck beds and speeding toward the nearest hospitals. Lindsay Paget was one of them. She packed as many people as she could into her truck, saying simply, "We just wanted to help." Hospitals were completely inundated. Sunrise Hospital alone treated nearly 200 patients, with 150 of them arriving in just 40 minutes. The sheer number of casualties was staggering, but the medical staff, backed up by an army of volunteers, rose to the challenge. After 10 minutes that felt like an eternity, the shooting finally stopped. The gunman was found dead in his hotel room, but the terror of those minutes started to fade into a heartbreaking sense of loss. In the end, 60 people lost their lives, and around 867 were injured. In the days and years that followed, the stories of heroism became a powerful part of the healing process. The focus shifted from the senseless act of one person to the incredible actions of thousands. It was in the story of off-duty cops, Stephen and Celeste Sanchez, who crawled on the ground to put a tourniquet on a wounded woman while bullets flew right past them. It was in the story of the concertgoer who used a ladder as a makeshift gurney to carry a victim to safety. It was in the compassion of a community that lined up for hours to donate blood and created a healing garden to honor the victims. The survivors, the first responders, and the everyday heroes of that night are forever connected by what they went through. They're a community that was forged in tragedy but defined by courage. They showed the world that even in the darkest, most terrifying moments, our instinct to protect, to save, and to care for one another can triumph over hate. The sound of gunfire might have defined those 10 minutes, but it's the echo of their bravery that will be remembered forever. The heroes of Las Vegas were regular people who made the extraordinary choice to run toward danger to help someone else. What does that kind of courage mean to you? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want to hear more incredible stories of resilience, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications for our next video. On October 1st, 2017, a night of fun and music became a war zone. But it also became a showcase of the human spirit at its absolute best. It's a powerful reminder that when we're faced with the worst of humanity, the best of humanity will always rise up to meet it. Their actions saved so many lives and left a legacy of heroism that will never be forgotten. These are the untold stories of the Vegas heroes. Thanks for watching Deep Crimes Uncovered. If this story left an impact, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We expose the darkest truths to bring light to the lives affected and the lessons left behind. Stay safe, stay sharp, and join us next time for another deep dive into crime.